Antoine named the stray Shadow. Ming now found himself sharing his territory with an alley cat, and the dynamic in the apartment changed.
I had just walked by him. I said, "Everything good?" He said, yeah, everything all right. But the way he said it was like, so I said, "Nah, I'm not, because I can feel it." So while I'm upstairs at my friend's house, I'm listening to music. We listen to music, some beats, and something tells me, "Yo, go downstairs." So I said, "All right." I go downstairs. When I go downstairs, I'm walking down the hallway toward the apartment, but I see the door cracked open. Automatically, my antennas went up.
Aaron Yates sensed that something was not quite right in the apartment his brother Antoine shared with the tiger Ming and the house cat Shadow. He went down to the apartment to investigate.
So I'm saying to myself, hold on. He is not going to leave the door open under no circumstances. I open up the door and I see him on the floor. And he's shaking. It's almost like he's going into shock.
Ming had gone to attack Shadow. Antoine stepped in to save the house cat.
I took the bite for the cat. I chose to sacrifice. I chose to put my love for animals out there. These are dangerous, predatorial animals that strive on instinct. And you have to be able to curb the instinct, or at least understand it, in order to say, you know what? I have to get my leg out of his mouth.
Antoine believes that his relationship with Ming let him persuade the huge cat to walk away, even with the taste of human blood in its mouth. Antoine was left with a deep wound in his leg, and his brother had to cope with the consequences.
So I said, so we got to call 911. So we called 911. But we can't afford for them to go up in the house. So the police came and said, "Okay, so what's going on?" I said, "Yo, he was just attacked by a dog." I'm like, "Oh, man."
But with Ming in the apartment and no one qualified to look after him, inevitably the truth came out. An anonymous tip-off was made to the police.
When we arrived at that housing development that morning, we interviewed the neighbors because there were no tenants to the apartment. The door was closed and there was nobody inside. The neighbors we spoke to had no independent information, so they kind of left us in the gray area.
They didn't know exactly what they were dealing with, but didn't want to take a risk. They decided to knock a hole through from the apartment next door to see what might be inside.
Once we had the hole, we looked in, we saw a bed that was totally flipped upside down, and it was shredded through, as if an animal would shred through paper. And then as you look up the wall, you would see claw marks, as if something was clawing at the wall. And those claw marks continued all the way up to the top of the ceiling. And these ceilings are typical 8-foot ceilings, and it kind of threw us off for a shock, like this was going to be a lot bigger than what we thought.
The police's plans had now changed. They located a periscope camera and raised it up to Antoine's apartment from the one below. An image of Ming appeared on the police screen.
When I first looked into the camera, the tiger was actually sitting down. And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty big. I was a little overwhelmed. But ultimately, I had to keep my poker face up, and I had to pretend like we're gonna get this job done, and we're all gonna go home safe today.
The New York media was now out in force. Thousands of people began gathering in the street to see how this drama played out. The police lowered one of their men, armed with a tranquilizer rifle,